Get this man out of here. Please. Please, for the love of God, get him out. Billy Napier is one of the worst head coaches I've ever seen in the Power 5 level. Maybe just ever. Definitely one of the worst play callers I've ever seen. And now I would say he's the worst play caller I've ever seen. It's so unbelievably bad. The Gators are running delayed handoffs, and I'm a Gator fan, so I'm watching. I watch every game, and we're doing delayed handoffs to a freshman third string running back on 3rd and long. Lagway's just throwing screens. We're motioning Eugene Wilson every single play. It's pathetic. Okay, like there's nothing interesting going on with Florida's offense. There hasn't been anything interesting going on with Florida's offense since Billy Napier has taken over. DJ Lagway saved this man's job last year single-handedly. I mean, if Lagway did not perform at the level that he performed at last season, and if we didn't go on that little winning streak, Billy Napier would have been gone last year, long gone, and it's long overdue. And look, I know I just talked about him in my last video and how terrible of a coach he's been, but I can't get over it. And if I'm doing a video like this, where I'm going to be going through 5 different coaches that I believe should be done after this year, or maybe even during this year, Billy Napier cannot not make this list. He needs to be here. I believe he will be fired after the Mississippi State game. God, please tell me that I'm right, because I can't sit through another year of Billy Napier. He needs to be gone immediately. I think he will be. And no, it's not even like an upside. Look, people are, I was defending Napier last year. I thought, we had some momentum. There's no reason to fire him. We don't want a revolving door at head coach. We had some momentum. We went on a win streak at the end of the year, finished with 8 wins, won a bowl game. I was thinking, okay, maybe there's something here. He's recruiting well. Lagway looked good. We still have LJ McCray, the 5-star that came over. We've had a couple good transfers, George Gums, and the freshman Jaden Ball. A lot of there were some positives last year. Nobody developed. Everybody looks the same as they did last year. There's been no talent development. DJ Lagway included in that. And I don't fully blame him for Lagway. I know Lagway's been hurt, but you can just tell that there's been no work done with him. Like, he looks the same, and he's finally starting to catch a little bit of momentum, but he looks, for the most part, the same as he did last year. It's just not enough to keep Napier anymore. It just isn't enough. The recruiting would be the only defense for him. And even with the recruiting, he's recruiting at the same kind of level that Dan Mullen was. I mean, he has 1 year of a class that finished higher than any of Mullen's classes, where I think we were like almost top 5, like 6 or 7, I think 7. I think we were around 7th in recruiting that year. And that was including the transfer portal. And so that's before, and Mullen was before all of the NIL stuff. So, I mean, what Napier has done, it really hasn't been much different than what, Dan Mullen has done in terms of recruiting. And that was one of the biggest reasons why Dan Mullen was fired. And then he's also not doing anything on the field. So I just don't understand. You have enough grounds to fire Dan Mullen, but you don't have enough grounds to fire Billy Napier. It's pathetic. He's been a bad hire. It's time for the boosters and Scott Strickland to accept that he's been a bad hire and to move on from him. That's where we're at now. Okay, he's got to go, and I do think he will be gone. He absolutely needs to be, and I think he will be. And, I went over a bunch of replacements in my last video, and, that this is just one. I think he's on the hottest seat in college football right now, and that's what this video is going to be about. It's going to be about the guys that I believe are on the hottest seat and who will be or need to be fired by the end of this season at the very least. So next up, we got, it's time for Hugh Freeze, I think, to just pack it up. Hugh Freeze is in a similar situation in my mind to Billy Napier, although it's not as worse. Hugh Freeze is a very good recruiter. He's a very good recruiter, maybe even better than Napier is. I mean, Auburn's top 10 every year in recruiting. They're getting transfer portals. They're getting 5 stars. they look decent. You know, Cam Coleman was a big get for them last year, or I think 2 years ago now. You know, they've had a couple 5 stars hitting that program now. And, you know, you're able to land Jackson Arnold out of the transfer portal, new starting quarterback, looked a little promising this year. It just isn't clicking. There's something wrong here. I think he's 14-17 as I record this video at Auburn. At Auburn, that's unacceptable. Auburn has a storied history of being a very competitive program. You know, they're up there. They recently won a national championship in 2010, 2011, within that era. Cam Newton. That's not that long ago. That's in this era. It's in this generation. They can do it. They can compete. They compete with Alabama every year. That's the kind of caliber of program that Auburn is supposed to be competing at. And Hugh Freeze just hasn't lived up to that standard yet. You know, he took over. I have to admit, I was a big fan of Hugh Freeze coming to Auburn. I thought that this would be a good fit, and this has been a fit that had been rumored for a long time, long before they fired their last coach. So, you know, I thought Hugh Freeze would be a very good fit here at Auburn, coming over from Liberty, where he did fantastic at Liberty. He got, you know, he had 2 extremely good quarterbacks in Malik Willis and Caden Salter over there, and Liberty was winning football games that they were playing at a high level. They were ranked. It was just a level of success that Liberty hadn't seen before, and Hugh Freeze looked really good, you know, as a coach there. He just wasn't ready for the SEC. I mean, it's a tough schedule every year. They're losing games. You know, there's just a lot wrong with the way that he's ran Auburn over there. And like I said, it's similar to Napier, where the play calling just doesn't make a whole lot of sense a lot of times. It's just, you know, I don't watch every Auburn football game, but clearly the offense isn't generating the kind of they're not generating the explosiveness that the players can provide. Like, Cam Coleman is a hell of a player. Jackson Arnold is I believe a hell of a player, and they have a lot more playmakers on that team that just, you know, they're showing flashes, but they're just not getting used as much as they should be getting used. And, you know, he's just not using his stars. Things have just kind of fallen apart here for Hugh Freeze at Auburn, and they kind of were never really together in the first place. He's gotten 7 wins 2 years in a row, and then right now he's sitting at 3-3. It's not going well for them. You know, he's been in a couple close games, but it's just, he's not finishing, and he's not providing the level of success that Auburn should be expecting. So Hugh Freeze, in my opinion, has got to go. Next up, this is another one, man. This is another one I loved this hire, in fact, for Wisconsin. Luke Fickell, coming from Cincinnati, I really liked this hire. I thought Luke Fickell could really succeed here at Wisconsin. It was a program that, yeah, they had a down year, but they were coming off some really good years, you know, 11, 10-win years. And Wisconsin has always been tough in that Big Ten. They have always been tough, and they just haven't been under Luke Fickell. Things have just gotten worse, which I just so did not expect. I mean, you know, again, I don't watch every Wisconsin football game, but so I can't tell you the intricacies of like what I'm seeing like I can with somebody like Billy Napier. But what I can tell you is that Luke Fickell was very good at Cincinnati. He was very good at Cincinnati. I mean, he got them to the damn college football playoff. And if I'm not mistaken, they put up a fight against Georgia. And it was like they were in the game, and they obviously ended up losing, but that was a 4-team playoff. Cincinnati snuck in there with this guy as their head coach, and things looked really good. You know, they had Desmond Ridder and Ahmad Sauce Gardner, and they put in a couple guys into the NFL, and things looked pretty decent over there in Cincinnati. And he got to Wisconsin, and I don't know what happened. Like, he was taking over, like I said, a decent team. You know, they were coming off a couple big years. They hadn't really been like terrible. They were coming off a bad year and like a single individual bad year, but before that things have been really good. And Fickell just kind of gets there, and nothing's worked. Nothing's worked. You know, again, I think he's gone He's won 7 games, 2 years in a row, and right now he's sitting at 2-4 in Wisconsin. And they're not even in games. Like, they're just getting blown out. They're just getting beaten. It's just not even close a lot of the time. And, you're losing to mid-tier Big Ten schools. It's not like a James Franklin situation where Franklin's going out. Well, yeah, he did lose to Northwestern and UCLA, but in general, in James Franklin's career, he's losing to Ohio State and Michigan. Those are the hump that's the hump he can't get over. Luke Fickell can't even get over Maryland. And, Northwestern and Purdue and those kind of levels of schools that Wisconsin would usually be able to handle. They would usually be able to handle schools like that. And, typically they'd be the favorite to win those. And in my mind, they've always been up there. It's always gone Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Wisconsin. They've always been within that top 5 of the Big Ten. And he just has not lived up to that. He's had 3 bad years straight now in Wisconsin, and I think Wisconsin knows it, and I think he will be canned this year or middle of the year or after the year, but I don't see him sticking around in Wisconsin, and I don't believe he deserves to. Next up, Mike Norvell. Please, let's make FSU versus UF an actual watchable game again. Please. Because these two, Napier and Norvell, I keep going back to Napier. It's like I know I'm just bullying him at this point, but God, he's just so bad. Mike Norvell has had one thing that Billy Napier has not had. What is the Mike Norvell cornrows? I'm sorry, I have to see this. Oh my God. Oh my God. I wish I'd never seen that. Let's get back to the topic here. Okay. Mike Norvell, he's got one thing that Napier doesn't have, and he actually has put together a very good season at FSU. Going, 12-1, 12-0 during the regular season and dropping a game to Georgia. I believe it was in the Orange Bowl. Getting murdered, but there are a lot of stipulations. I understand people sitting out on both sides though, so I understand it. It's at the end of the year, you're expecting to make the playoff, you get put in a bowl game. I get it. Still they win 12 games that year, right? They go undefeated and they look really good. They're dominating, and maybe they deserve to make the college football playoff that year. I don't necessarily think that. Look, they won out their schedule, which is important, but the schedule's kind of cake. I mean, it's just kind of easy. The ACC is not that hard. If FSU is in the SEC or the Big Ten that year, I don't see them going 12-0. I don't care how good the team is. That team was not, I don't believe, good enough to win out in the SEC or win out in the Big Ten. That's all I'm saying. But they won out. And, that's all that they could have done. So I would understand the argument for putting them in the college football playoff. However, since then, they won. Look, he'd almost deserved to just get fired off of last year. It was the biggest drop I think I've ever seen from a school that was just a playoff contender. I mean, 12-1, I understand it. You lose a lot of players to the draft. You lose some players to the portal, maybe even. You turn around and you win 2 games? I mean, 2 games. You beat Cal and some FCS school that no one's heard of. I mean, that's unacceptable if you're at Florida State. That's absolutely unacceptable. That's unacceptable if you're anywhere. If you're at Arkansas State and you win 2 games, yeah, you're on the hot seat. You're Florida State, especially. You're in the FBS, and historically, you're one of the best teams in Florida. You're up there. UF, Miami, Florida State, in no particular order. Those are the big 3 there in Florida, and you're usually one of the best teams in the ACC up there with Clemson. And you go 2-10 and you keep your job. That's impressive. He's a conundrum to me. Because I don't even understand how you can win 12 games straight and then lose 10. I can't even comprehend how you do that. but yeah, and now this year he's sitting at 3-2. They had a nice win over Alabama in week 1. That's great. It's looking more and more like a fluke now that the season has continued. Alabama is, rolling now. I firmly believe that if this Alabama team played the current FSU team versus current Alabama, I think Alabama beats them. If they play again, I think Alabama beats them. However, that's not going to happen. So FSU got the win over Bama, and they beat 2, nothing schools after that, and then they lose to Virginia on the road. I get Virginia is ranked now after that, and they beat Louisville on the road after. That's great for Virginia. Maybe they're a little more up than they would have been. You're gonna lose to Virginia. You're supposed to be a top 10, top 15 school. It's not a school you can just lose to casually. That's a mid-tier ACC school that you should be beating if you're FSU. That's the kind of expectation that's at this program. You're going to lose, and then after losing to Virginia, you're going to lose to Pitt. To Pitt at home? At home, nonetheless. Look, Pitt's not a bad team, but again, they're just kind of another one of those mid-tier ACC teams currently. I know they have a good history, but currently, they've just kind of been a mid-tier ACC team. So how are you going to lose to Pitt at home after dropping a Virginia game? And look, Norvell has time to save his job. He's not in a fire immediately situation like Billy Napier is, because he did go 12-0 one regular season. But now he's kind of sitting at a spot where you're sitting at 3-2 with 2 losses in the ACC. You're not going to the ACC title game again, and that's just kind of how it is. But I don't see them getting into unless they completely win out. I guess then it's a possibility if they go 6-2 in conference play. It's a possibility, but regardless, they've just made their chances of an ACC title game 10 times harder by dropping 2 winnable ACC games, and they could end up winning out, and that could be the thing that saves Norvell's job. If he's able to string together a few wins, especially within conference. I'm not exactly sure about their schedule coming up, but if they're able to just string some wins together, then maybe Norvell can keep his job. But it's going to take a lot at this point. And I think FSU fans are getting sick of Mike Norvell. As a Gator fan, I'm sick of Mike Norvell. I always root against FSU and everything, but what I do like to see, though, is a competitive FSU versus a competitive UF. And right now, neither of them are competitive, and it's just getting worse and worse every year. So let's get 2 new coaches in Tallahassee and Gainesville, and let's make this rivalry competitive again. Miami's up. Miami's up now. Cristobal and Carson Beck and whatever you got going on over there in Miami, they're up right now. So these 2 teams, FSU and Florida, we need to catch up with that. We can't let Miami. That's one thing we can agree on as FSU and UF fans. We both hate Miami. All right, I don't like Miami. FSU does not like Miami. Let's make sure Miami does not become the best team in Florida going forward for the next 5 years. Let's try to make this rivalry competitive. All right. Next up, I know it's early, and I never advocate for this. Okay, I'm never the guy that advocates for a year 1 firing. I've always said it's premature. Coaches need time to adjust. Let me just give you a few reasons as to why Bill Belichick is on this list right now. Number 1, the most obvious reason here, North Carolina sucks. Okay, they're not a good football team. They get blown out by TCU in week 1. They beat Charlotte and Richmond after that. Yippee, good job. And then they get smashed by UCF. They get smashed by Clemson. And now I think they're going at Cal next. So, you lose the 3 games that are actually competitive games that are teams that are on your level or supposed to be at least near your level. You're not even competing with them. You're getting blown out. So that's a big issue. And there's been a lot of questionable play calls here as well. I would doubt Bill Belichick fully runs the offense over here. That might be his insane son. But defensively, there's been a lot of holes. They're giving up 30 plus points a game to teams that are usually just on the same level as them. UCF scores 34 and holds them to 3 or 9 or whatever it was, and then TCU holds them to 14, and Clemson holds them to 10. It's just they're not scoring anything, and then they're giving up a shit ton of points, and that's not how you win football games, obviously. But even then, I wouldn't advocate for his firing after that. It just seems like he doesn't want to be here. It seemed from the beginning that Bill Belichick was leveraging this job to get to the NFL. That's always been that's always how I've seen it. As soon as he signed his contract, it wasn't about, let's bring North Carolina back. No, I think he just wanted to get back into the NFL somehow. And it just hasn't gone well over here. There's been rumors that he's even gone to boosters, or maybe not boosters, but upper management, whatever you want to call it, and he's requested his buyout. Now, of course, he denied these rumors, but at the same time, if you're getting rumored that you're requesting a buyout from your job, you're not going to go into the press conference and be like, "Oh, yep, that's it, guys. I want out. I'm gonna go ahead and I am requesting my buyout right now." No, that's not how it's going to work. He's going to deny it, obviously, and it doesn't mean that it even happened. But things are a dumpster fire in North Carolina right now. The culture is all wrong. I don't think players resonate with him here at all. Like I said, I don't think he wants to be here. He hasn't looked like this isn't, I just don't believe that the college landscape is for him. He's done okay so far in recruiting. I don't think that necessarily means he's a good recruiter. It's just, you're Bill Belichick. You've won 6 Super Bowl rings. I want to come play for you. It's very easy to recruit when you're Bill Belichick. And recruiting's gotten incrementally better. It hasn't taken off or anything like that. But then you got his girlfriend, who is 50 years younger than him. Creepy as hell, by the way. That's so weird. I don't know why you would do. Well, I know why he would do it. I know why, and I know why she would do it. She gets the money. He gets, So I understand the trade-off there, but I also just think it's disgusting. I mean, it's just weird, and but regardless, his girlfriend is on the sideline. It's not about that, but his girlfriend is on the sidelines of the game, and she's complaining to him and having conversations with him pregame and stuff. That's just weird. You don't see Nick Saban's wife on the sideline with him, complaining and arguing with him before the game. What the hell is that? That doesn't make any sense. And he's he's got this weird toxic relationship with the Patriots and their front office, and saying how he's advising players that are going to the NFL from his team or seniors to just not think about the Patriots and to try to avoid them the best they can and stuff. And he's denied all of that as well, but he just has a very toxic relationship with the Patriots, it seems, and it seems like it's still an open wound, and that he holds a lot of bad blood for how they got rid of him over there. And maybe he's right, maybe he's wrong. I don't care. We're talking about college football here. He hasn't been a good college coach. Things have just not clicked so far. I don't think he wants to be there in the first place. He seems still focused on the NFL. His girlfriend is on the sidelines. It's a mess. Okay. He's got a mess going on at UNC. And, I didn't really like this hire in the first place, which maybe that sounds crazy, but sometimes that NFL to college jump just doesn't work. Just like the college to the NFL jump for coaches, it just doesn't work sometimes. Nick Saban was granted he didn't fail in the NFL, but he was at the Dolphins. They win 9 games. He was decent, but then he takes the Alabama job and he becomes elite. And you can have those issues from transferring. In this case, it's the opposite direction, where Belichick. I think the best example is Matt Rule. Succeeds heavily in college football, takes the Carolina Panthers job, and just doesn't do well. Urban Meyer. Oh God, Urban Meyer, one of the greatest college football coaches of all time. He takes the Jacksonville Jaguar job. He's horrible. He's signing 37-year-old Tim Tebow and having him running routes. Like, and I love Tim Tebow, but it's over. It's been over for 20 years, dude. It's been over. It's Tim Tebow's. He's played minor league baseball. He's an analyst. He's a commentator. It's done, man. It's done. Why are we signing Tim Tebow? I don't understand. There's so many tight ends out there. Look, that's beyond the point. Urban Meyer didn't work in the NFL. He worked really well in college. Bill Belichick, I think, is an example of someone who works really well in the NFL, but just isn't really going to work with the atmosphere of college football, especially current day atmosphere of college football. It's extremely complicated to be a coach now. So, yeah, that's the end of my rant. Those are the guys I believe that should be canned by the end of this year or during the year at some point going forward. Let me know what you guys think below. Thank you so much for watching this video. Have a good one.